So yeah, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today. And I thought before we dive into learning more about some of the projects you're working on, if you could just introduce yourself and your current role and your background.
Okay, yes. Well, I'm working as a consultant now in the waste management business mainly, but also I have a part-time employment at VafabMiljø. It's an association for waste management formed by 12 municipalities in mid-Sweden. I work there as a senior strategist and advisor on part-time. And I've been in the waste management business for about 15 years now. I started in 2008 as CEO of another association, regional association for waste management formed by 5 municipalities. Gästrike återvinnare in mid-Sweden, about 180 kilometers north of Stockholm, 5 municipalities there. And I have been involved a lot in export of Swedish know-how in waste management. So I worked for SIDA, the aid organization, and SKL International. It's the municipalities organization for international aid projects. Since 2012, mostly in East Balkan, in Serbia, and just now in North Macedonia, with advice for establishing waste management planning and procedures about that, and municipal collaboration, intermunicipal collaboration as well, to gather sufficient resources and competencies to be able to establish a well-functioning waste management system. And I'm a Master of Science in engineering originally, and honorary PhD at the University of Gävle in environmental technology. And I'm also chair of postgraduate research school for sustainable city development, future-proof cities. It's a collaboration between the University in Gävle, the University in Dalecarlia, and the Mid University.
Okay, well, it's an
not Mid, Mälardalens University. It's called Mälardalen. They shortened the name MDU. Just So and from that point of view, actually, as an experience from the international engagement, people start asking about technical solutions for waste management, facilities for sorting and treatment, and so on, and focus very much on the technical issues. But in my WHAT model as a concept, I've tried to identify all the crucial success factors that has to be in place in order to establish a sustainable waste management system. Because besides the technology and systems for collection and treatment and so on, and disposal, you have to have the legislation in place. You have to have raise public awareness. You have to have competence among your staff. You have to get the financing in order, all the tariffs and so on to finance the operations as well.
There's a lot of different aspects coming into it. So maybe while we're on that, so you have developed this framework called the Waste Holistic Assessment Tool, or the WHAT model, as it's known. Maybe you could just share the basics of that and what it's all about.
Yeah. So looking upon identifying about let's say about 10 or 15 crucial success factors that has to be in place in order to establish a really long-term sustainable waste management system. So questions for self-assessment: on which level are we now, and what are the main target areas for improvement that we must take on in order to establish a comprehensive system. So it's about waste sources, amounts, and categories, to have a good picture of that. How much waste is generated actually, and from what sources? What are we handling? What do we have to handle? Then about systems, for collection and transport, what's in place, what should be in place. Also for sorting and treatment, treatment facilities. It's about detecting the environmental impact of the waste, regarding socioeconomic features as well. Even you have in a lot of countries informal sector with waste pickers and so on. Actually, depending on for example, the landfills to be able to get their incomes and food on the table. So how to handle those aspects. Public awareness, how to raise it, and well, what goals and objectives has to be set for the waste management? What is the ambitions actually? What's the most crucial to target? And how is the legislation? What laws and regulations are there in place for the waste management and the different parts of it? Who controls the waste planning and also the streams of waste? Planning system. Do you have a planning system for it? What's the responsibilities in that? Who is in charge of what? And how do you get the financing to cover all the costs for investments and maintenance of the system as well? And what's the level of competence and skills in waste management? And what collaborations could be possible? In Sweden, the success factor has been for both the waste management and for water and sewerage to get into collaboration among several municipalities in order to gather the resources and competencies needed, and also the financing, the basis for making investments and maintaining larger systems. And besides the public side, I mean, what business possibilities and opportunities could there be in the waste management and handling of waste? Are there possibilities to establish some kind of business, sorting out some materials and using that and so on? So also the business side drivers for development.
So it sort of seems like you're coming at it in a way that you're taking your learnings from Sweden, but anybody can apply this, and it encourages them to look at it quite holistically. To get this holistic picture of it, and to identify, to make decision makers and officials also, and politicians and so on, aware of all these factors, that you have to target all these things in order to get the sustainable long-term system in place. It's just not buying some facility or some technology, and often you might it's best to start with the soft sides of it. I mean, who is in charge? Is there some laws and regulations in place? Are there political ambitions and decisions for developing the waste management system or not? And the way we see it as well, you need to have strong foundations in terms of software in place before you can actually go out and take advantage of different hardware in the marketplace.
So I outlined these factors and some questions on each subject to see for self-assessment. Say, okay, on what level are we in these areas, and what do we have to target? And the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, they have used my model for some master theses for students looking upon waste management systems in different countries. I mean, I think they made one study in Africa, in Tanzania, and another student applied it in South America.
So proven that it can work.
It's been proven. And my contact with WasteHero was actually from another point of view, because I'm involved at VafabMiljø, this large association, with a project called BITE, Better Avfallshantering, better waste management by using IoT. So BITE is
I think that project's really
playing
as well. I read a bit of background on it. So as you said, better waste management through IoT. But yeah, perhaps you could tell me a bit about the project and what you're hoping to achieve through that.
Well, because in many municipalities in Sweden, they've started to look upon sensors in garbage bins and containers, the level of how much garbage there is, and to use that data for optimizing the logistics on collection and transport. But our approach in this project is to apply a broader perspective on it, to see, okay, if we can gather data on the generation of waste from different areas, from different sources and so on over a period of time, what does that say us? How could we use that data in planning and optimizing the whole system, and also giving feedback to those who generate the waste of how much amounts and what sorts and how well they are sorting or badly they are sorting, and how that could be influenced in some way. Optimizing the whole system for collections as well. I mean, the sizes of bins and locations and etc.
Yeah, exactly. So, these are all things I'm very familiar with at WasteHero. So And so based on,
I thought you had a good approach to that, to have a holistic perception of it and try to find solutions for that.
Yeah, and you know, as we see it, it's not just sensor data that we can use as well. It's weight data when the collectors are going as well. And so again, coming back to the software, it's a way to bring all of that data together in a way that it can actually be used. And being able to go back to the citizens and say, okay, we can see that, you know, your sorting, your recycling for this particular fraction has gone up or down. What can we do to address that? So helping the public awareness aspect of it as well.
Exactly. And also looking upon different areas. What's the difference, for example, socioeconomic features in different areas, the size of the household, composition in different ways. What are the differences? How does that affect the generation, the consumption patterns and generation of waste?
Yeah, I think it's actually really exciting being able to take this data and actually figure out, okay, how does that impact this?
And how does it look over time?
Seasonal patterns as well.
Seasonal patterns as well, to optimize in that way as well. I mean, when I started in this business for 15 years ago, I mean, all the garbage truck drivers, they have their certain route, and they were when they got introduced to the job, it took them a month to learn the route, how to drive, and then all the keys to the garbage rooms and so on they have to handle. But
in the last interview I had, their waste drivers, it took them a year to be properly onboarded because they have to learn the routes. It's all local knowledge up in their head. So we've recently introduced our mobile in-cab technology where they've just got a tablet, they've got turn-by-turn directions. It makes their day so much easier, and empowers the collection of data as well, which is
much more flexible.
Much more efficient. So
and then just driving out to those containers that need to be collected.
There's so many benefits from using data, from sustainability to efficiency to cutting costs for local authorities. It's actually amazing what you can do.
And you have that over time as well. I mean, the seasonal variations in the generation of waste. I mean, around Christmas, we get a lot after Christmas, packaging materials and so on. But also during the season, I mean, we have the summertime and wintertime. In wintertime, we occasionally get a lot of snow on the streets, on the roads. And to have data about that, are the streets and the roads clean from snow? Can we drive with our trucks there or not.
Yeah, exactly. So the safety aspect as well.
And time factor as well. I mean,
So sort of based on what you've learned from the project so far, how do you see IoT being used to optimize the waste process? Is there anything other than sensors that you're looking at, or is it mainly smart bin sensors?
Well, I would say that we are rather in the beginning of this. I mean, the use of sensors for optimizing the logistics purely, the transports, that's rather common, and that has been the starting point for many companies, and they are looking on that firstly. But there's a lot to be done to expand this perspective to more data, and not just the level of garbage in the bins, but to look upon the structures, the composition of households and waste generators and so on, and gather data over time. And also we've been looking at data that can be collected from the vehicles. I mean, the garbage trucks, you can retract data from how they are driving, and the consumption of fuel, the speed, and patterns, and also for maintenance and so on, to plan that and optimize that better. How we use our resources for all the waste management operations. Can be a lot can be done there as well. And also from the housing and real estate sector, we have these recycling yards, we have facilities, energy optimizing in those as well. I mean, it's a lot that we can do to make all the waste management operations more efficient and cost effective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of traditions in the business, I would say. I mean, we have done like this always, and that has functioned well. So why do we have to change anything? And there's a tendency also to look just what has been done within the waste management sector itself, not looking upon what technologies, what functions are there in other lines of business or other lines of kinds of operations. I mean, we have customer service. Who's best on customer service? Is it the waste management company, or is it another company that has developed efficient methods and applied technologies in that field and so on? Yeah.
And that's something also that we find really interesting, because we've developed a customer service system specifically for municipal waste authorities. So it's built in within our software for municipal waste, but it actually connects all of these different systems. So we've got the mobile in-cab from the driver, we've got citizen self-service app, and when each of those send a ticket, it comes into the customer service system. So even in terms of administrative burden and the support teams or back office that are managing all of those customer inquiries, how can we streamline that for them? Life's too short to be sitting on the phone taking complaints all day, I say.
So I found your portfolio of products and services very interesting, because you have this more holistic approach to it, the whole
that's what we try
parts
to do.
Of the operations.
And then not limit people, so they can take bits and choose what they need to fit into their existing system.
Existing system as well. Yes. Many companies are stuck to the company they have initially used for digitalization on IT systems and so on. So
and the older systems, they sort of prevent from taking these next steps forward.
They are locked into these old systems. Configurations.
So I mean, talking about that, what do you think is the biggest barriers for local authorities to take those next steps into more sustainable, smarter waste management?
That's a good question. I would say being stuck in old patterns of thinking and traditional ways of looking upon the operations, I think. It's a bit conservative business, the waste management business.
Yeah, and
but but I think it starts happening things now.
Yeah, we can see it too.
Yeah.
And I think sort of people need to see proof of it working in other areas before they can put their trust into it to go forward.
Yeah, you need to show a good examples of it. To find some companies that implement these new features and systems and show how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you sort of see the waste industry developing in the future? So 5-10 years down the track, are there any trends that you expect to see?
Well, I've been into looking upon the competence and skills needed in the sector, and I also participated in on European level in CDFOP. I don't know if you heard about that. They're looking upon needs of competence and skills in the sector in perspective of 2030, 2050 or so on. What will happen with the professions in the waste management business, and what education and training would be required in future. And we're talking a lot about digitalization, of course. And I mean, robotics, mechanical sorting, robotics, artificial intelligence, and such things, I think, will come in more and more into the business. And maybe less of manual sorting at the sources, more of automized and mechanical and using sensors also in the sorting and of waste and in the treatment phase.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in those.
Yeah. Because I mean, we worked a lot with public awareness in Sweden and introducing sorting at the source, at the households. They have to sort all their different garbage, organic and food waste, and packaging materials, metal packaging, glass, cardboard, newspapers, etc. But still, we can see when we made analysis over the years of the waste going to incineration, that 2/3 of that is wrongly sorted. Should it be there? Should it be sorted? Should be sorted? Should be sorted? Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So even if we campaigned and worked a lot with this public awareness thing, and people become a rather common behavior to sort their waste, still there's this lack of quality in the sorting, and a lot of waste that goes to incineration that shouldn't go there. Should be recycled as materials. So I think when the technology develops with mechanical sorting, robotics, etc., you get more accurate sorting there. So actually, it could be easier for the public, for the households to perhaps only sort out the dry and wet waste. I mean, the organic waste that is wet.
That makes it a bit easier. It's a bit more obvious.
Yeah, it's more obvious. And that can go to composting or biogas production. And the rest goes to a sorting facility, and you sort out different kinds of plastic materials, metals, etc. more accurately that you can see by a human sorting.
Yeah, exactly.
Effort.
I think it's also really interesting though, because Denmark, where I am, we're one of the best countries at sorting our waste. We are also one of the largest producers in the EU of waste. On a consumer level. So it's also interesting to think about, the top of the pyramid. How can we actually prevent the waste in the first place?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the knowledge from the waste sector, I mean, we have been at the end of the line so long, just taking care of collecting the waste and getting rid of it. But moving now into the households to get the people sort their waste properly, but try to be earlier in this procedure. I mean, influence the consumption to buy more sustainable consumption. use products that are recyclable, etc. But I mean, the next step would be to influence the producers and the design of products, so they are more environmental friendly, easier to separate the materials in the products and so on.
Yep.
So
sort of just going a little bit back to the what model. Why do you think at the moment municipalities struggle so much to get this holistic overview of their operations? Is it because they're lacking the framework that you have now created, or is there something else?
Well, good question. I think that we in the Nordic countries, we are rather good at targeting these matters in the waste management planning procedures, I think. So I think we have it rather good in place in the Nordic countries, addressing all these issues in the waste management plans. But there's, if we go look upon it globally, there's a huge lack or huge need of applying this more holistic approach to the waste management. We are in a more mature state in the Nordic countries, I think.
Yeah.
And in Western Europe, but the rest of the world, I mean, in many places where I have been, 80 or 90% or 100% of the waste still goes to landfill.
Yeah.
So there is a huge potential of improvement, and then you have to apply this more holistic approach to it. It's not just getting rid of the waste somewhere to dump it, but to apply this more holistic approach to it, and see that you have to have all these things, these critical factors in place in order to establish a well-functioning and long-term sustainable system for waste management. I mean, I am involved now in a project in North Macedonia with support for waste management planning. They also want to develop their system in order to be in line with European Union standards and so on. But I mean, 100% goes to landfill, and not to regular and legal landfills, but to illegal dumping, dump sites. So they have a long way to go, to travel.
Well, you can. I think this tool is going to be very useful for people.
And my hope is it has been used as now as a paper product by the Royal Institute of Technology for some master theses. I have a colleague at another Swedish municipal waste management company who has worked a lot abroad with waste management planning projects, and they have used my model as well. But actually my contact with WasteHero was about, well, could we digitalize this assessment tool to make it a more accessible tool for several decision makers and so on, to answer a number of questions and get a picture rather more smoothly, more accessible grasp of these different critical factors, and see, okay, we are on this state in this. We should target that this indicates that we should work perhaps more to establish the regulations in place, or the financing system to start there, or it's public awareness, or whatever.
So to sort of prioritizing.
Prioritize, yes. What areas to target to get this started, this procedure towards a more sustainable handling of the waste management operations.
And so if people wanted to find more out about the what model, is there anywhere they can go to find some more information?
Well, to me,
okay.
Today it's to me. Yeah, to me in that case. Yeah, in that case. But I would love to see it more developed and maybe in collaboration with somebody to actually establish this tool, digital tool for using the and developing the questions, the questionnaire. Yeah.
But I think that almost wraps us up. But just to round off everything, if you could share one key message with your peers in the municipal waste industry, what would it be?
Oh,
it's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, to think more out of the traditional box.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, look at different other businesses and operations, what we can learn and gather from them in the line of digitalization and development of operations. Yeah.
Perfect. Well said.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Thomas. I really appreciate it. And it was great to hear your perspective. So I'll be excited to see the WAT model out in the world very soon.
Yeah, hope for that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the chat.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And have a nice weekend.
Thank you. To you too.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.